All right, I'm going to get started. We're close to 40 attendees now. Thank you everyone for joining. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Matt Schlegel. I'm the Director of Sales here at Templeview Capital. This is the first webinar that we're hosting for all of our approved TPOs. We wanted kind of a forum to get everyone who currently delivers to us at Templeview all to get on the same page and on the on the same meeting, on a quorum together, just to kind of go over our highlights, guideline changes, process changes, items to focus on, and all the above. So we plan on doing these periodically, probably every 6 weeks about is the goal, or just honestly whenever big changes happen at Templeview with guidelines, products or processes. So thank you all for attending. We're going to go through some PowerPoints here, and I'm going to pass it off to Brendan, who I'm sure all of you know from trainings or kind of everyday escalations. But thanks for joining, and pass it off to Brendan here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. For those of you that I haven't talked to recently, Brendan, director of our third-party origination channel. We're going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to have a Q&A here at the end. So if you have questions, anything related to the products, we're also going to open it up. I'll put some requests in. And then after this, hey, this is our first webinar. We'd love to hear some feedback. So let us know after the call. You could reach out, send us an email. Let us know if there's something you'd like us to touch on the next one, or anything that you need. But let's go ahead and get started. Let's wait for Kelly to share the PowerPoint and we'll get moving. All right. About 60 days ago, we made some huge changes to the way TVC looks at track records. We are a track record-based lender. If you're already delivering to us, you know that not only our leverage, but our pricing, exceptions, everything we do is based off of the borrower's track record. And if you have an issue with the credit report, if you have an issue that requires an exception, the very first thing we do is we open up that track record and make sure that it makes sense for the deal. We came up with this idea of the anchor deal, or the concept of an anchor deal. And honestly, it was something we've always been doing. And it's specific to unique transactions. What's a unique transaction? When we're talking about major construction, if the borrower is doubling the square footage of a home, if they're raising the roof and adding a level, if they're increasing the footprint at all, let's say the budget's $500,000 or the ARV is $3 million. The purchase price is $1 million. What we really want to see is that the borrower has been there and done that. We often say TVC is not the place for the borrower's first deal. We're here for the successful borrowers to do their next deal. And that's specifically what we're really good at those major rehabs, those heavy rehabs. So is an anchor deal required on every transaction? The answer is no. You'll see, and we get to the slides here, we really wanted to open up our programs to newbies, to cosmetic rehabs, to general rehabs. So if you have a cosmetic rehab where the borrower's, redoing the kitchen, painting, and doing the floors, we don't require an anchor deal. There's no experience requirement there to get them up to speed with us. It's only when you get to those more complex rehabs. It's important when you're qualifying your deal, and you could reach out to your AE for help on this. When you're opening up that line item budget, what we're looking for and what changes the qualifications for a deal. In the first section of the line item budget, you're going to see items such as plumbing, electrical, HVAC, foundation. If you have big numbers in those budgets, if you have work for foundation, it's very likely a major construction. When it comes to big numbers for plumbing, electrical, anything like that, you should ask the borrower how much they're replacing. Is it a matter of, hey, I'm not replacing any of the systems in the house, but I am replacing where they're coming out? Or are they changing all the electrical out in the entire house, right? When it gets above 85 to 90% of replacement, it moves to major construction. Those are key indicators where you can see it. The budget or the number on the budget isn't what's going to tell the story. You could do a cosmetic rehab for $200,000, right? You could do a major construction for $60,000. So it's not the number on the budget, it's what that budget is comprised of. The anchor deal, it's not only that they've been successful, but we're looking that they have success in the subject market. If you've been doing ground up construction with us, which is one of our most popular programs right now, ground up construction requires not only that the borrower's built a home before or has a very huge major construction completed, but it requires it to be in the subject market, right? So if they're flipping in Austin, Texas, or they're building a home in Austin, Texas, I want to see that they built a home in Austin, Texas before. That kind of plays into our, what we're looking for when we're qualifying a deal. We always have questions. We always get these exceptions in where the borrower does not live in the subject market. If they don't live in the subject market, but they have an anchor deal in the subject market, we will write the loan. If they don't live in the market and they don't have an anchor deal in that subject market, it gets a lot harder and there's a good chance that loan's not going to pass go. All right, Kelly, can we jump to the next slide? In addition to the anchor deal, we've also been looking at the way we've been looking at track record. Being a track record based lender isn't an excuse to have a convoluted, complex track record that takes forever to validate. So what we did is we really looked at what we're trying to accomplish on our track record and then make it as easy as possible. So one of the things is the number of properties we're validating. So bronze borrowers are 0 to 1 total units, silver is 2 to 4, gold is 5 to 9, and platinum is 10 plus total units. I can't change those numbers because we have bonds. We can't change our experience requirements. I can't reduce platinum from 10 units to 3 units, right? As much as I'd like to. But what I can do is change what I'm looking at for those 10 deals. So what we used to do, and I have my old numbers there, let's say you were trying to qualify a 10 unit borrower for a platinum borrower for 10 units. I had to find that the borrower had 10 successful fix and flips on that track record in order to qualify them. And that could get incredibly difficult. Maybe they had rental properties there in which they rehabbed the rental properties, but they didn't have before and after photos, or their refinance HUD didn't show me they were paying off a rehab loan. And it was hard to qualify that as a successful fix and hold. Maybe they had some properties that they listed that were mid-construction, right? Unless that's listed for sale, I can't count it as a successful project. So what we found is borrowers were coming in with 10 successful projects, and after we reviewed them, they really had 5 successful projects, and then they had 5 other projects in some process that we couldn't really count. Well, what we decided to do is what's really important. Well, if we look at that anchor deal, right? The anchor deal is what's important to us. And we said if the borrower has that subject matter experience and they're good in that market, that's one of the most important things to us. So on our new platform, a silver borrower requires 1 unit of experience to be validated as a successful fix and flip. Ideally, that's your anchor deal, but if it's a cosmetic or a general rehab, as long as it's in the subject market, and 1 other property that they've owned for 36 months. So successful, I really want to define successful because it does a lot of heavy lifting for us. A successful fix and flip is a property that's sold, purchased, rehabbed, and either refinanced or sold within 2 years. If someone bought a property in 2012 and they sold it in 2024, that's not a successful fix and flip, right? In addition, a successful fix and flip is a budget that makes sense. I would never write a fix and flip loan for a $5,000 budget. That doesn't make any sense. So if a borrower is submitting to me a track record showing me they have experience with a $5,000 budget, I'm not going to count it, right? So it has to be reasonable. Usually we're looking at like $30,000, $35,000 of rehab funds to actually make sense for a successful fix and flip. The other thing is a rental property. We already talked about that. What if the borrower owns a rental property and they said they rehabbed that rental property? Well, normally I'd say, give me the refinance HUD where they refinanced into a rental loan and they paid off a rehab loan. Maybe they did it cash. Do they have before and after photos? They don't have those before and after photos. I can't count that property. So what we did is for successful properties, those 1 unit for silver, 3 for gold, and 5 for platinum. It used to be 10 for platinum. Now it's only 5. Those remaining 5 properties, you only need to show property ownership over the last 3 years. So I just want to define that. Property ownership, all of those rental properties that you couldn't validate, they now count as units. Those are owned properties in the last 3 years. Your borrower has midstream construction, projects that are 50% complete, that now counts as a property owned, and that's counting towards your track record. Those projects that he bought in 2012 and sold in 2024, that now counts. So we made it a lot easier to qualify, and now our track record across the board for every product we have is about 50% easier. In addition to that, we try to make it easier on what documents can you provide to us to qualify these deals, right? So we talk about one, you guys are TPOs, you can't wait for us to validate your track record. You need to know before you issue that term sheet to the borrower, before you click order on that appraisal, that the borrower actually qualifies for your transaction. The first step is to order a property profile for that subject property. The property profile is going to confirm the date that they purchased it, the purchase price, the date they sold it, and the sold price. It's also going to validate the entity or name on title during that time period. In addition to a property profile, which you should have on every item on the track record, we now accept HUDs, and those HUDs do not have to be signed. Your borrower's name doesn't have to be on those HUDs. So any of those properties owned or on those successful properties, you could provide to us an unsigned HUD. In addition, you have the property profile showing us the name on title. If that's an entity, show us the entity articles. Borrower's names on those entity articles, they're qualified. You'll see situations where we do not like operating agreements. The reason we don't like operating agreements is we had borrowers Google operating agreement template. They would type the name of an entity in and they would sign it. And they would pretend like they owned the entity to use that entity's experience. That's why we don't accept operating agreements, because we've been defrauded in the past and we found it, right? So this is kind of our way around it. The one thing I'll say, and this is going back to the anchor property deal, that anchor deal, that needs to be truly validated. So that can't be an unsigned HUD. For that anchor deal, I need the signed HUD. I need your borrower's name on the HUD. I need a little bit more connecting that to the deal, because that's the one I'm truly basing my deal off. That's the pivot point for the deal. That's leading into our next slide. After trying to make track record easier, we also had an underserved size of the market, silver and bronze borrowers. So borrowers that had 0 units of experience all the way up to 4 units of experience. We found we weren't being as competitive as we wanted to be in that market. And there were a few reasons for it. One of them was our leverage points, right? We were at an 80% bronze. We were at 85% silver. And you could see we are now at 90% for all borrower types on a purchase. The 10% down payment. So whether borrower has 0 experience, whether they flipped 50 homes, they could get a 10% down payment. There are some differences here. One, my FICO requirements are way less for a platinum borrower. For a bronze borrower or a silver borrower, they have to have a minimum FICO score of 700. I'll offer them 85% leverage down to a 660 FICO point. If your borrowers come in, you pull credit, and they have a 650 score, you need to do a rapid rescore. We do not accept exceptions on credit. Do a rapid rescore, have them pay down a debt, try to get their credit score up into our box. If you attempt to do that and you get a little bit short, you're at 655 instead of 660, that's when we'll take a look at it. And that's where you're much more likely to get your exception approved. Some of the other things I want to mention about your silver and bronze tier borrowers is the maximum loan amount. You can see for bronze, my maximum loan amount is $500,000. For silver, it's $650,000. This is based off of when we want to get a second pair of eyes on it. So can you exceed those loan amounts? Absolutely. But it has to make sense. So if a bronze borrower is doing a cosmetic rehab in California and the median purchase price in California is $800,000, I will write that loan. That's not a big deal to me. If they're trying to do that same $800,000 purchase in Philadelphia, where the median home price is $250,000 or $350,000, I'm not going to be able to write that loan. So again, it's a matter of looking at that project a little bit more deeply and making sure that it makes sense for the market, especially for a new investor. Beyond that, for a bronze tier borrower, we're really looking to do cosmetic and light general rehabs for them. So when you get a bronze borrower in on this new program, the pricing's been reduced, the leverages are high, and you're looking at that bronze tier borrower, when that eclipses into a major construction where they start doing foundation work, where the electrical, plumbing, HVAC, where those numbers start getting big, there's a chance that we're not going to be able to write that loan. So it's really important, if you get those budgets up front, you're checking with your AE, having them review that budget with you and letting you know whether or not it's an acceptable budget. We're happy to pre-approve these things. Send it in early, ask us, and we could give you a yes or no on that deal. And the same is true for silver. Silver accepts an anchor deal, right? Bronze could have an anchor deal too, right? If you have one successful project and it happens to be a major construction, that works. Silver will do major construction for silver, but it requires that anchor deal in the subject market. All right, can you jump to the next slide, Kelly? It's kind of what I went into. I kind of went into on that previous slide. But again, how to get around those loan limits. What kind of deals are we looking for bronze? Smaller rehabs, cosmetics, small general rehabs. What concerns do we have with bronze and silver borrowers? We don't want them to get too complex of a project where they're requiring general contractors or requiring other people outside of the deal, and they don't have the experience to deal with those investors or with those general contractors. And we don't want to get in over our skis on the borrowers that have less experience. Okay, you can jump to the next one. This kind of leads into the next enhancement. So one of the big problems at TVC is that we had a payment escrow, right? So if you brought me a cosmetic rehab, the borrower's cosmetic rehab generally wasn't increasing the value of the home enough. So then when you tried to jam 12 payments in or 18 payments into the loan, they wouldn't fit and you couldn't waive them. So you maybe fit 6 payments and 12 payments were due as cash to a close, or 6 payments were due as cash to a close. It killed your deal. We are opening up asset verification to all borrower tiers. So now a bronze borrower or a silver borrower can show us assets, waive the entire payment escrow, or they can borrow as many payments in that escrow as they want. So if it's a 12-month term and we could fit 6 payments in, borrow your first 6 monthly payments. Your first payment's going to be due month 7. And you don't have to come to cash to closing with those, right? You're going to be able to waive them. The way we're validating assets, we've also reduced, right? Because we didn't want to just add asset verification and still make it hard. I always like to give you guys the why or the reason why we do things. Our bond requires that we validate that the borrower has the full term of payments in their loan, right? Or the full term of payments in their assets. When we're collecting all of those payments, we don't have to do asset verification because whether it's due at closing or it's in the loan, we validated that all of the payments are there. When we were validating asset verification previously, though, I would look at the cash to close plus the full term of payments. We've reduced that. Our new way to validate it is we're taking the greater of closing costs plus 3 monthly payments, or whatever the amount of unescrowed payments are, whatever is greater. This concept is a little bit confusing, but the way I like to describe it is, let's say you have a major construction where the budget's $1 million and the purchase price is $100,000. In that instance, if you're waiving 24 monthly payments, those 24 monthly payments are going to be greater than the down payment plus 3 months, in which case I have to validate the 24 payments. And Kelly, if you could jump to the next slide, I kind of want to give everyone an example. This is just your average deal. It's a purchase price of $500,000. There's a $100,000 rehab. The total loan amount is going to be $550,000. There's a 10% interest rate. And what it's showing here is the down payment of $50,000. We estimate $25,000 closing costs plus 3 months was $88,750. The full 12 months of non-escrowed payments was $55,000. So in this case, I have to take the greater of those two numbers, which is going to be $88,000. My old guidelines 3 months ago, I would ask for $130,000. So in 100% of cases, my asset verification has been reduced pretty majorly. So this is a huge advantage. If you're now showing assets, it's going to be much more industry standard with the cash to close plus 3 months. In almost all cases, that's what it's going to be. And like I said, in those imbalanced transactions where it gets a little bit funky, where those budgets are way bigger than the purchase price, there might be an instance there where I'm validating those extra payments, the unescrowed payments. All right, Kelly, you jump to the next slide. New submission requirements. So if you haven't experienced this yet, we've updated all of our submission requirements. This is another part to make things easier. As many of you know, we operate as a note purchaser. What that means is our clients are delivering us a 100% complete package. Our goal was to audit that complete package and give a clear to close. what we found is that we have incredibly unique loans. Every loan has hair on it. And when we'd review them, a bunch of conditions would come up, right? What we've decided to do is break up our loan into 3 different pieces. We call it a credit underwrite, a collateral underwrite, and a clear to close. The new design is that we have a credit underwrite with reduced requirements that are only from your borrower. You could get a conditional approval before the appraisal ever gets returned to you. Our best clients are already taking advantage of this, and our pull-through rate is skyrocketing. So what this means, what do I mean by no third-party docs? To get a conditional approval, I don't require any title work. I don't require homeowners insurance data. I'm not requiring the appraisal, right? What am I requiring? Well, I need your borrower's application. I need their credit report. I need their photo ID. These are all things that you should have. I need their budget, borrower provided budget. I need my overview form for the rehab, the purchase and sales agreement if it's a purchase. If you elected asset verification, I want to see their asset statements. All of the documents to get a conditional loan approval are documents that you should be collecting upfront. And it includes the track record. It includes the entity documents, right? In addition, I don't have it listed here, but we've also reduced our entity requirements. Previously we were collecting an anti-money laundering disclosure. We were collecting a W-9. We were asking for an EIN letter. As you could see recently, we're only asking for an operating agreement. We're only asking for articles. We made a multi-tiered effort, whether it was experience, programs, our asset verification, or our portal, or a way to submit loans. For these loans to get reviewed, not only are they going to get reviewed earlier and approved earlier, but it's going to be easier. We're trying to make it easier across the board. Outside of that conditional approval, once you have that conditional approval, when your appraisal comes back, you can resubmit it to us. And then we complete the rehab review. We prepare the draw schedule. And assuming you've gotten the title work and the HOI back, we can submit it for clear to close. Our timeframes are already down. We definitely have some clients that aren't submitting that early conditional approval. So I'd ask everybody on the call, take advantage of this. It definitely helps. Get that early conditional approval. You will hit your closing dates. It's going to be a lot easier. We've been far more successful hitting purchase dates over those last 60 days with the new program. All right. Q&A time. I just want to open it up. If anybody has anything they want to ask, now's your time.
Looks like we got one in the chat. Brendan, thanks for going through that. That was a lot. We covered a lot on that, on all those points, everything from process to guideline changes to track record. So the one here in the chat is 675 credit score acceptable for a rehab loan. For a rehab loan, yes, it is. For a ground up construction loan, it is not. If it's on the brink on ground up construction for high utilization or something, we can make an exception for it. But if it's any derogatory mortgage history, that's probably going to get a pass on that one for ground up. But for fix and flip, we're good.
Kaiwi, you could speak up. I think I didn't give your the hand raise.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
Oh, perfect. For ground up construction, is there also asset verification? Sorry, I wasn't sure if I missed that or not.
No, there's no asset verification for ground up.
Okay.
All of our ground up loans are non-Dutch, and we escrow all of the payments. So whenever we're escrowing the payments, there's no asset verification required.
Understood. Thank you.
Yep.
We find just on that point that our ground up construction product is pretty smoking hot across the board. If anyone on this call has disagrees with me or is getting better terms elsewhere, I urge you to send your rep the term sheets, and we're always willing to look at our book again and make adjustments as needed with the market. So
I really want to emphasize that because it's something our capital markets asks for all the time. We don't want to lose your DSCR loan because you're getting a quarter point better somewhere else. It doesn't mean we can match it, right? But if we take a look at it, there could be an opportunity where we do. So whether it's fix and flip, ground up construction, rental finance, don't lose a deal over the rate. You got to send us the term sheet. I can't guarantee anything, But we do want to try to compete. We do want to know, where we're at in the market, and if we can improve that, we will.
To that, yeah, just to piggyback again on that, I've yet to see recently us not match a DSCR term sheet. If it's from a bank or a local credit union, that's a different story. But if it's one of our direct competitors, 9 times out of 10, we're going to match that. So please send them our way.
I definitely agree. You guys do have one of the best ground up construction products. The only thing I'm running into is right now I'm running into that 4 million limit. Are you guys ever going over that 4 million, or are you guys kind of at a hard stop right there? Should we get with the account executive about that?
Interestingly enough, we could potentially go up to a $5 million loan balance.
Mhm.
However, right now it's a new program for us, and we're only doing it to borrowers that have already paid us off. Right.
Mhm.
So if you're a successful borrower that's done a $4 million loan with us before,
Mhm.
they have a new opportunity coming up. We'll take a look at it. There's going to be increased requirements. We are going to ask for asset verification on those
Yeah.
deals. And it's going to be a little bit unique. It's not going to be in the size, or it's something we can work with you on though.
Understood. So even if their track record verifies that they have completed single family luxury flips over 4 million, we would still need one deal to be closed with you guys prior to them being approved for a loan amount over 4 million.
Closed and paid off or successful with
Closed
us,
and
right?
paid
So it's
off.
not even a
Yeah.
matter of they just closed one loan with us. We want
Yeah.
to see that they've had success with our draw team and that we work well
Mhm.
with them, that it's somebody that we want to continue to do business with.
Perfect. Understood. Thank you.
Dan, looks like you got a question. Got to unmute yourself if you can. Try to unmute yourself one more time if you can.
There we go.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, Dan.
First and foremost, I want to say that you did a great job, Brandon. Like I always say, I think Brandon, you're like a scholar in this. You really helped all the TPOs out with the systems and everything you're implementing. I really like working with you guys from start to finish. I've been with you guys for probably the last 5 years. And I know we always have difficulties with new products, but I think this new system that you created now for the pre-approval stage helps out for us to get more deals through the pipeline. And that's a couple of things I want to say. I really appreciate the Zoom we had are very knowledgeable for my team, and I really appreciate that. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it. And hey, just kind of play on what Danny was saying there. We do offer trainings for your team, right? So if you guys ever want to get a one-on-one training on track records, one-on-one training on rehab budgets, anything like that, if you guys could email us, you could ask us, and we could schedule those trainings. I do see that we have some questions in the chat. So let's just run through some of those. Any considerations to do a shorter than a 12-month term for a rehab loan? As a track record-based lender, whenever we're looking at an exception to term, whether it's going down to nine months, or maybe it's a major construction at 18 months and you want to bring it down to 12. What we're going to look at is your track record and see if the borrower's, ideally their anchor deal, if that paid off in 8 months, right? If they can show me they have a history of paying off a loan within 9 months, then your request to get a 9-month term is going to be considered. In most cases, I always say, start out with what the term should be. And if they're successful with us on their next transaction, you're going to have more luck getting that lowered.
To that point as well, we offer asset verification on fix and flip loans on every tier. So that's pretty standard in the market for every lender. The building the payments into the ARV is kind of unique to us. So just have them asset out of payments, no prepay penalty, and they're done when they're done.
We have no leverage changes. We have no pricing changes for terms. So I know some other lenders, the longer the term, the higher the cost. That is not the case with us. All of our programs are based off of experience only. Tracy, I see you have a question here. The anchor deal I missed, that cannot be GC experience. They need to be on title. This is a great question. GC experience is accepted for a track record. So if you have a general contractor, as long as that general contractor is guaranteeing the loan, I can use their experience where they were the general contractor. So maybe they built a home for someone else. As it stands today, they can use GC experience as the anchor deal. However, it is something we're looking at. We're getting deals in where the borrowers have never purchased or sold a home ever, and all they have is GC experience. And that's not necessarily the intention of the plan. The intention of that plan was to have a marriage, right? Where you have somebody that does fix and flips and they want to get into GC deals, or they want to get into ground up construction. So they add a GC to their deal, they partner up on a deal. That's the intention. So when you get general contractors, then the only experience is general contractors. As of today, we accept that, but we are looking more closely at those deals because we do want to see that they have a deal where they're actually on title. What is the turn time on track record verification from Kane? Kane, so track record verification is actually a part of our underwrite now, right? So the same question, what is the turn time on a track record verification, is what is the turn time on a conditional approval? And that varies, right? It could be within 48 hours. It could be 4 days sometimes. So that's why we really emphasize on getting your conditional approvals or those documents submitted early. If you're waiting until that appraisal comes back to hit that submit button, you're going to be delayed in a way that you may have not been delayed in the past. So it's really important that as we're seeing more and more transactions come in early, our queues are bigger. So we're running through them. We can always escalate files. So if there's a reason that your file needs to be escalated because it has a closing date that it needs to hit, we can check our pipeline. Our escalations, and the way we look at escalations, is it a purchase transaction with a hard purchase date, right? What's the reason for the escalation? And where is my pipeline at now? What loans do I need to hit? I'll speak on that for a second because escalations and as the month goes, you'll find that everything was a little bit slower at the end of the month because that's when we get slammed the most, right? So it's a living and breathing thing, the pipeline. We can't always be staffed for the absolute maximum. And sometimes we get 30 loans submitted in one day, right? So we do our best to work through those pipeline as fast as we possibly can, but it could definitely affect the turn time. Anonymous, I have a question that we have so many authorizations and applications separately for the borrower that they have to sign. Can we have one collective document to manage with ease? This is a great question. This has to do with the application. On our side, anything that needs to be signed by the borrower, such as the draw schedule or the LE or any docs like that, we are going to attempt to issue them all at once so that one DocuSign can happen. We definitely have clients that are sensitive. Well, everyone should be sensitive to it, but if it costs $35 every time you do a DocuSign, we don't want you to DocuSign a document 15 times. As far as the application goes, we would recommend you have one combined application, get it all completed at once, and then you just separate the docs when you upload them to the correct document holder. Ricky Christian said, can you talk about how the advanced rehab draw works for flips? Absolutely. So advanced rehab draw, you have to have at least 5 units of experience to qualify for an advanced rehab draw. It's only available on our fix and flip program line. The way the advanced rehab draw works, there has to be a full term escrow. So whether that's escrowed in the loan or if that's, partial escrowed, but also brought to closing. Once you elect asset verification and you start waiving payments, you can no longer do the advanced rehab draw. The way the advanced rehab draw works is post-close, your borrower is going to get a login to our portal. They can log in and they can request their first rehab draw. That rehab draw is released with no inspection, right? And there's limitations to that first rehab draw. It can't exceed 10% of the total budget. It can't exceed the down payment. It is going to be assigned to specific data points on the rehab budget. When they complete the work we've already paid them for, let's say I've given them $10,000 in that first draw. When they complete the work associated with that draw, they can log in the portal and request an inspection. We have 2 different methods for that. They can get TruePick, which is an app on their phone, and they can do the inspection themselves, or they can request an inspector to come out to the property. But assuming that inspection shows me they completed the work I've paid them for, I will release their second draw, and maybe that's $30,000, $35,000. And each of the draws are an advancement moving through that project. Jonathan, any plans to offer RTL loans for 5+ unit multifamily? Currently at this time, we do not have an option for 5+ units or multifamily. I know that there's definitely team members on the call that do have those outlets. Happy to be collaborative there, and you guys can speak up. But currently, we do not have that program. Heath, hey, Brendan, going back to the combined loan application, on the borrower authorization page, can we have a fillable area for the lender info to be completed? Yes, you can. I will mark that down right now. Fillable area for lender on the borrower auth. Thanks, Heath. Kai, are there a specific docs that we need to submit upfront when using GC experience to qualify new deals? Absolutely. To qualify general contractor's experience, we need proof that the general contractor actually worked on that home. Generally, you can show that through, again, you're still gonna have to do the property profile, the dates purchased and sold, but you can show me proof of permits, right? Your GC's name should be, GC should be pulling those permits. We can see that they pulled permits for the subject address. That's one way to qualify that. Entity docs, etc. I mean, they're gonna have to show us their general contractor license, and then you connect that general contractor license to the permits pulled on an address, and then for that address, you would validate the information on. All right, Kerry Boyle, you're up.
Hey, Brendan and Matt, it's good to see you. I've been processing loans for different TPOs for a few years now, and I think I could have just hit submit so many times and missed this, but I uploaded an appraisal. Are you guys automatically getting that the appraisal is uploaded and sending it to the valuations team?
You would need to hit the notify lender button in the portal whenever you upload a specific document to change your loan phase. Just hit the notify lender. That gives us an email to jump into your loan and look at the docs.
Great. Yeah, it just moved really fast. Maybe I didn't notice. Thank you.
Yep. Confirming for track record, do we only need the property profiles or do we need the property profiles and the HUDs? You need both. Property profiles need to be on every property because the property profiles are only validating the information on the track record is accurate, right? It doesn't show me ownership. It doesn't tie it to your borrower at all. All it's showing me is it's validating that you actually looked at the purchase price, the sales price, the purchase date, the sales date, and then you have the name of the entity there, and then you can show me the unsigned HUD as the qualification to qualify it. All right. Does anybody have any other questions? Feel free to type them in chat, raise your hand, and we could add you to the speaking. Awesome. Well, hey, this is going to conclude our first seminar. We really appreciate everybody that took the time to join us today. Oh, wait, do I have anything else here? Is there a new sizer? The most recent sizer was released June 5th. There is a new version coming out. There's been updates to New Jersey with prepayment penalties. I really appreciate everybody joining today. If you have any feedback on the seminar, please reach out to us. This is something we'd like to do regularly, especially when we make big changes. So your feedback's really important. We love working with everybody. We love closing these loans. I will say that our third-party origination channel is not just on pace to have our best year ever. We are on pace to shatter our previous ceiling. So we really appreciate the effort and the loans everyone's bringing in, and we want to continue to be a great partner. Thanks, everybody, for your time.